Okay.
Bravo. So hi everyone, welcome to the premiere of Grace Between Races, and happy to have you here to join us for the first meeting, the first gathering, and JWOW is our premier guest, and we're so in delight of having her and joining to see what will come out of this conversation. So just sit back and relax and take some deep breaths. And as a matter of fact, can we just take a moment of silence just to quiet down and to take some deep breaths. So we could close our eyes to ground our energies and connect with our ancestors a bit. So deep breath in and hold it. And then exhale. We can do this a couple of times. And then when you're ready, you could open your eyes. So I'll just like to give a little recap of the mission of Grace Between Races. It's a space for diverse individuals and communities to come together, to express, to create, and to heal across differences. Our vision and intention is race reconciliation through raw conversation, honest and open discussions about our experiences and of inequalities between the races, and how we are affected by these experiences, both individually and in society. I know it is a very touchy and heavy subject, but what we want, our approach, and I like the word that JWoww used just now, is possibilities, and I would say infinite possibilities. I believe that we could dream, of something totally different from the past and from what we have experienced in our lives. And it's only through dreaming these possibilities that perhaps we could come and maybe for our future generation have something totally different. It's my hope and my dream that that this possibility, something different, something better, something beautiful, something more harmonious could take place and come true each and every one of us for the future. So we have a few guidelines that we would put into place just before we get started. And these guidelines are, this gathering is all inclusive. It's equal opportunities for all. We speak from the heart, so we want everybody to be comfortable. We want to hold a space so that even those topics that might be touchy or might be sensitive, we could sit with it and hold a space for others to really feel and be in that experience and know that it's only by going through those experiences that we could get beyond it. We should be mindful of the time also when we having our time to conversate, and also give feedback and gratitude to others who might be expressing and have a hard time with the whether the issue or the comment or whatever. All questions are should be relatable to the subject. the subject matter, and we should always remember to celebrate. So smile, let's take this, let us do this together. We should know that we can make a difference no matter what, your experiences are. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Anne.
You're welcome.
And I think this is a great way to celebrate. Dancing is a great way to celebrate. So since we're on here, we can do that anytime.
Hippie hands.
Yeah, wiggle.
So especially if you like what's being said, feel free to do that and dance and express your feelings. And I'm going to introduce to you the talking stick that we are going to use tonight. This is my talking stick that I made, and we're going to be using one every time that we get together, whether it's mine or Anne's. Maybe a guest will bring their own talking stick as well sometime. And the reason we're using this is to help create a sacred space together and to honor the elements as well. And I've recently completed a training in council practice taught by a local native elder out here. And what I learned is that these sticks really do represent the elements, and we're bringing them in to honor what we feel connected to, who we are connected to. And so the feathers mean a lot to me personally in my own journey, as well as the tree and how it was created. And so every time that we'll switch who people are talking, once we get into that portion of the sharing, there will be a slide that comes up and it says, switching to this person, the talking stick is being passed on, as a moment of honoring and digesting and breathing with what's just been shared as well. And so as we move forward in this sharing today, in this gathering, and more people are joining us, I want to honor our guides and our guardians and our protectors, as well as our ancestors, the ones who are supportive and generative for us to be with right now. Thank you for coming. Thank you for showing us to this place. And thank you for helping us to open and to awaken with you. And I also want to honor the indigenous people of the land where I am, the Nipmuc people, the Wabanaki people, and the Bekamtuk people. And I invite you, Anne, to share the people from the place where you live, if you feel called.
Well, we have the Cree and the Mohawks and the Inuits here, along with other tribes. And, we just want to call all the ancestors from all over. I mean, doesn't matter where, there's no barriers when it comes to this. And all the ancestors in general from the world, throughout the world. We need all the support that we can get from them, both from the ancestors that pass, let's bring in all the energies and the wisdom and the love, help us to guide us through, to bring us to a better place, perhaps that place that they probably wanted but didn't get there, and help us to get to some degree of understanding and change, some degree of change, because we need it. We need it for the world. We need it not only for human beings, we need it for the plants, we need it for the environment, we need it across the board, just bring healing.
Thank you for sharing your heart. All right, so I invite us to get a little more grounded before we jump in and invite JWoww to share with us. So I invite you to close your eyes and to feel yourself sitting or wherever you are, to feel your weight dropping into the ground and to notice your breathing, to breathe in, receiving the fullness of your experience, and to breathe out and breathe it out into the ground as you notice yourself growing roots from the center of your spine all the way down. So breathing in, receiving, breathing out, growing these roots down. One more breath like that. And then I invite you to breathe in from these roots to receive the nourishment of the earth up through those roots, and to receive it in to your gut, to receive nourishment and to release anything that is no longer generative for you, and send it down through these roots into the earth. Receiving nourishment, releasing what is no longer needed. And then I invite you to breathe up into your heart, and to breathe into your heart, receiving the fullness of your experience with the in-breath, and to breathe out whatever is no longer needed down through those roots as well. And then breathing open your heart, feeling the expansion and opening, and breathing out down through these roots into the earth. One more breath like that. Opening, expanding, and releasing down into the earth. And then I invite you to bring your awareness up to your third eye and to 2 inches behind your third eye to your pituitary gland. And to breathe into that point, gently opening and noticing, and breathing out, releasing. Breathing into your pituitary gland, and breathing down through all the layers of your body into the earth. And one more time, into your pituitary gland and out into the earth. And I invite you to open your eyes, return to us, and I want to cordially introduce dear JWoww, Julie Woods, one word. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am just giddy and jittery and joyous. And there's somehow some vibration that happened at the same time. Um, and I just have to say that JWOW, or I call her Mama Jew often, has been and a guide and a mentor, and I feel like a family member from another lifetime for the last 7 years. And I know that I wouldn't have the courage to be doing this without you right now. And you're the reason I'm doing this. And that the experiences we've had have made it possible for me to step into the world and know who I am and to receive accurate reflections, because you have reflected accurately to me and have spoken with the depth of love that I didn't know was possible. And so I know that's possible now in me, and that I can share that. And so I am so elated that you've chosen to join us and to share your story, and I'm excited for everyone to get to know you and meet you. And before you jump in, I'm gonna put up our talking stick. So just bear with me. All right. So, but you can share anything that you feel called to at this moment.
I love it so much. Let me go back so I can see people's faces. Hold on 1 second. I had it in gallery view. Hold on. Well, I wanted to see folks. There we go. There we are. Hi, everybody. I'm JWoww. I'm transitioning out of Julie Woods and into JWoww. It's easier for me. First of all, I'm honored to be here. And it's also kind of a given that I'd be here, because if Hillary Lake invites me to something, I'm going to show up if there's a way for me to do that. Hillary may need to remind newcomers to mute their microphones, right? And I'm going to try not to be too loud. This is an ongoing thing, whether in my physical reality or my virtual reality. Let's just get real. All right. I'm here for a couple of reasons. Primarily, it's to talk about what is it that we can practically do out of our feelings around filling the intersection of difference. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, it can be about race. It can be about gender. It can be about orientation. It can, it kind of doesn't matter, because the bottom line is that there's a division, and you can either get divisive and damaging about the division, or you can bridge across the diversity and expand your own options and possibilities for growth and understanding, or expand them for someone else. And in the process of doing that, you still expand your own. When someone thanks you for expanding their world, for giving you permission to, beyond permission, gives you welcome to come into their world and bring what you are to expand them, you are expanded in the process. You have the experience of sharing and finding the points of connection that you did not have before. And the guarantee that you didn't have them before is that it's new people. And even if it's old people, old friends, you're in a new place. We can apply that. We apply that to friends. We apply those new kinds of connections to friends. We don't necessarily apply it to cultural sections. Oh, and by the way, before I go any further, anyone who didn't want to deep dive, you're on the wrong call. if you wanted for me to talk to you about Tiger Woods and some golfing and stuff, you were on the wrong call. Okay. Hi, Jonah. Okay. What is difficult to own is the lens, or is the lens set that we use to cull the information from the world that lets us respond in a ways that are most in alignment with who we want to be. Does that make sense to everybody? And by the way, I am Southern, Black, Methodist, and I realize that I'm talking to a whole bunch of white people. So you're going to have to give me a double thumbs up or some hippie hands or something like that to let me know that you are hearing me and paying attention. So does everybody understand what I'm saying? Let me see some hippie hands. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, very good. You kind of understand. Good. Okay, Jonah, perfect. All right. This is why I ask. Okay. I'm fat, black, gay, female, pagan, and mentally challenged. And old. Okay. That is 7 lenses through which I can see the world. And in a world that is full of divisiveness, if I were buying into the divisiveness, then I could say, oh, people hate me because I'm black. No, they don't talk to me or look at me because I'm fat. Oh, they don't want to be with me because I'm mentally challenged and I'm too much. Wow, they don't want to pay me because I'm female. Oh, they just hate me in general because they know I'm a shaman and I'm pagan. I mean, I could I could just use those lenses to lock myself in a room and never leave. That could happen in another dimension. All right. Instead, what if we play a game? What if JWowism, as the kids call the stuff that I say. The truth is, there's a hashtag, shit JWow says. That's actually the hashtag, but okay, so they call them JWowisms, right? And one of them is mutual exclusivity is an excellent indicator of spaces yearning for bridges to be built. The instant there is a gap between you and other, you've established at a minimum a boundary. You've established your isness and the notness of you over there. It could be a tiny gap. It could be, the Pontchartrain Bridge. It's the notness of you. And in between that notness are all of these possibilities. They're possibilities for divisive, damaging behavior where you throw stuff at them and call them names and tell them you hate them and tell them you shoot their children if they come over to your side and everybody hates everybody. It's just a big old mess. Everybody's blowing everybody up and it's just a mess. Like that's possible in that gap. What's possible in that gap is the beginnings of conversations about how to build bridges, not building bridges, the beginnings of conversations to build bridges. The beauty about conversations to build bridges is it gives you the opportunity to do what-if scenarios about what might work for anchoring those bridges. Is everybody with me? Hit your hands, y'all. Okay. Z, you good? Right, Tanya, you good? Okay, great. Our real power being defined as the ability to influence that which is not our isness. Our real power comes in choice, not decision. Decision leaves us an opportunity to be less than passionately committed to our action. Well, I looked at the T-bar and the pros and the cons, and the pros outweighed the cons, and therefore I did it, and I can blame the T-bar. As opposed to, no, that was stupid, I did it anyway because I chose it. You know, like, why'd you do that? Because I'm me, right? And there's a power. There's this incredible power in, yeah, I saw it, I did it, right? Yeah, I'm 18 and I see that Nazi over there. And so, because I have no sense, I'm going to go talk to him. This is memory, not metaphor. I'm going to go talk to him. Why did you talk to the Nazi, Julie? Why did the chicken cross the road? Because he's a Nazi. That's why I talked to him. Right? I was like, why do you hate me? You know, I was like, and we talked for an hour. By the end of the hour, he said he needed to go home and rethink his position on Negroes. He looked at my chocolate brown face and said that to my face. Because I listened. How are you going to build an appropriate anchor on your side of the bridge that you want to build if you don't listen to the people on the other side about the kind of anchor that they need? It is bridge building is a collaborative venture. Otherwise, you are invading someone's space. And I'm going to say a whole bunch of things, John. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I deep dive in my classes. I deep dive on my show on Coffee with JWoww. I go all over these places. So there's a lot of languaging in a short amount of time that I'm just running with. What I want is for there to be a ton of questions about how do I move the lens so I can see what's actually going on? How do I know what my lenses are? So not just the obvious ones that you would chalk up on a token list, but how do I know what my lenses are that keep me from being able to build bridges? If the prime directive is to build bridges, think about a world where everyone's prime directive is to figure out the bridge. There's not a lot of war there. There's not a lot of hunger there. And y'all don't even think that I'm some kind of kumbaya singing wench. Okay. All right. I'm from LA. Right? I'm a practical shaman. Right? I have every intention of figuring this language out and then sitting down in a conversation with the leaders of the Crips and the leaders of the Bloods. This is a goal in my brain. Because when you declare reality from a place of discerned possibility, so that you've narrowed your options to those which are most likely to work and to do good, then all of the extra energy that you fritter away, wondering if you're doing the right thing, and am I being an imposter, and golly gee, I really hope this works, and oh goodness gracious, did I really think of all the things, and oh, what about this thing over here, and squirrel, I mean, it's like that. You know, all of your energy goes into all of this stuff and going, instead of going, I'm building this bridge. Like, that's what's happening. Right? I'm sitting there with the Nazi. I had one thing. I couldn't get that man to love me by the time that conversation ended. What was going to happen? He didn't know this, but what was going to happen by the end of that conversation is that he was going to learn what not hate looks like. See, one of the things that happens in our intersectional wars right now, oh, it's pretty fuzzy. If you can move your mic lower, that might help. Okay. How is this? Is that better? Fantastic. Okay. So, I have to wrap myself back. I'm going to take you guys on a train and talk about what I mean by declaring reality. Okay. So language generates reality. And here's what I mean by that. When you control the language, you control the imagination. When you control the imagination, you control the narrative. When you control the narrative, you control the culture. When you control the culture, you control or steward the reality. Therefore, in that syllogism, language controls reality. And if you think that's woo, ask anybody who lived under apartheid in South Africa. They did one thing. That whole mess, that whole apartheid mess, they did one thing. They controlled the language. And it was real simple. I mean, it wasn't hard. They said, here's the white people's language, and you have dark skin. If you have dark skin, you speak the white people's language, we will take you in the back room, we will chop your arms and legs off, and you will eat a burrito while we watch you bleed out and scream. So if you're into dismemberment, you go ahead and learn the white people's language. Otherwise, don't. That's not hard. Right? All they did was control the language to control a reality of a minority in a country. Please bear with me. This is not a rabbit hole. I'm trying to do a whole bunch of shifting the elements that you use to look at your lenses so that you can change what it is that you see. 80% of innovation happens from outside of an industry. We will not be able to solve intersectionality issues from inside the intersectionality divisiveness that is sewn into our language. We need to shift the languaging that we use in order to step outside of these intersectional differences and go from divisiveness to bridging into diversity. United we stand, divisive we fall. Not divided. Division's just division. Ask any cell that made you. You're not a single cell amoeba. There's a whole bunch of division happening, and then we got a you. Okay? That's how that mess works. Division's not a problem any more than a scalpel is a problem. A scalpel in the hands of your neurosurgeon when you've got a brain tumor, that means that you get to have more birthdays. A scalpel in the hands of Charles Manson and a bad LSD trip, and you're not going to have so many birthdays. The scalpel's not doing it. Our ability to have a language that fuels our imaginations so that we can imagine a narrative that is a notness of what we have that does not work. If you can't imagine it, you can't get there. And here's the thing about imagination. If you are imagining based on pure falsehoods, then it doesn't matter how creative you are, you're not going to get anywhere near the truth. So it behooves the powers that be to make sure that you are given a language that keeps you on a false track. I'm not doing conspiracy theory. I'm showing you the notness of what it is that we need to do to move forward. I had this wonderful idea. How are we going to keep all these Negroes down? There's so many of them in America. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Wait. They've got this new music where they talk about all of the women, their mothers and their sisters, and they call them hoes and bitches, and they put them down. And we know how important languaging is. So let's pay the ones who say the worst things about the members of their community that they need to be revering, the ones who actually make human beings. Let's go ahead and give them a lot of money so that it becomes a good and sexy thing to put down the people who could be helping you to have a stronger and better and more loving culture. Let's do that. Then we don't have to do anything with them. They can just put themselves down and it'll be great. We don't have to worry about that. Oh, it's just fabulous. Oh, let's just give them some money and it'll be great. Okay, if you think I'm joking, the tobacco companies spend 3 times on their advertising in ghettos and barrios than they do anywhere else where it's mostly white people. This is not woo, y'all. This is getting underneath the energetics of what's really going on. Because see, as long as you let folks gaslight you into what you say, the simple case of brainwashing. You're not washing my brains. You're not cleaning my brains when you brainwash me. You are sludging my brains, and I don't want that. Subtle things. I don't want to lose weight. I find what I lose. And yet, the weight loss industry wants you to say weight loss because they know that you will lose it and then find it again so that they can make more money. What color is devil's food cake? It's dark and brown. What color is angel food cake? It's white. When you blacklist somebody and you do the dark thing, they are banned. When you whitelist somebody, they're included and embraced. If you think for a second that all of those little things are accidents, then you're a crack hoe. All of those things go into our brains and set us up for being afraid of darkness. And isn't that convenient? Because not only now are you afraid of people with dark skin, now you're also afraid of not knowing. You're afraid of shadow. You're afraid of mystery. And if you're afraid of mystery, then you're going to be afraid of learning, which means that you can't get yourself up out of the half-frozen tar pit that they shoved your face in because you can't learn enough to get yourself up and out. Is this making sense to folks? I'm looking on this back page. I'm seeing hippie hands. All right. Whenever people put sad faces on my Facebook posts, I will often PM them and say, please don't be sad about the bad thing. Please be pissed. Okay, sad's going to sit your ass on the couch and nothing's going to be any different. You're going to feel hopeless and helpless and hurt, and you're going to be a victim, and your energy is going to pull down the energy of the collective consciousness in addition to you not getting anything done. Sad is not going to get you anywhere. Mad will get you somewhere. Can we please take action instead of sitting on the couch? I don't care how big the action is. It could be little tiny action. Little bitty action like that big, okay? It'll be okay. People are like, JWoww, what should I do? I'm like, there's a nursing home near you. They're like, yeah, there's a nursing home near everybody. I'm like, I know. Guess what? Mabel hasn't had a visitor in 17 years because she's from Michigan and she's in Massachusetts. Mabel will live longer if she knows that once a month you're going to come for half an hour and listen to her. You want to know how to micro exercise your muscle of caring action? Do silly little things like that. It's a half hour out of your life. Don't pee 6 times in a month, and that will get you the half hour. Okay, 5 minutes a pop, and go visit Mabel. Don't tell the kids their vitamins and the Cheerios. You wind up feeling like a superhero. Don't tell anybody. All right. When it feels good to do good, you do more good. Here's the thing about intersectionality. I don't care how you slice it. There's always an opportunity to bridge across the lines that we use to label ourselves. I am 59 years old. I am old, I'm black, I'm female, and I'm ornery. So I'm not going to do the alphabet soup, LGBTQ, PRSTUV, WXYZ. I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'm old enough to remember when there were gays, and then they gave us lesbians and gays. At the same time, I remember looking up in the thesaurus back then to do a paper, and it said, gay, see pervert, And then when I looked up pervert, you know how the word that's closest to the first word is closest in meaning to it? Okay, so closer to pervert than necrophiliac, as in I have sex with dead bodies. Corpophiliac, as in I have sex with feces. Pedophiliac, in case you don't know this, because I have sex with kids. Pretty much anything you can think of that is gross and disgusting and horrifying that you can have sex with, all of that got listed after lesbian, pervert, lesbian, and then everything else. These intersectional differences change. That was 30, 40 years ago. You won't see that now. And that happened. They don't serve us other than to do one of two things. They either give the powers that be an opportunity to teach us to be more divisive. Oh, you don't want to hang out with those people. They're terrible. They're the left Twix people. The right Twix people are better. Okay? They do that. Or it's divided and you're like, that would be cool over there. They specialized in a thing that I didn't. Wouldn't it be lovely if I could share what I know if they're interested and they could share what they know? Again, this is not woo. I'm in Forbes twice as a 24-person multiple who's a shaman and presents as a high-functioning autistic adult, relatively. Not once, twice. Two different interviewers. Because the language that I'm talking about right here often precludes conflict. Your energetics move forward when you hold a space of being willing to bridge, and it becomes an energetic invitation into a welcoming space where bridging can occur. I'm not interested in a culture of consent. I'm interested in a culture of welcome. In a culture of consent, rape happens. Oh man, she told me before she passed out that we could do it. So she was passed out. So she told me I could. So I did, All right. In a culture of welcome, if it's not an enthusiastic jumping up and down, please put that wherever you want, then that's a no. A culture of welcome, right? A culture of welcome in all things. No, I'm not going to acquiesce to doing this thing at the job. I want a job where I'm enthusiastic about what I'm doing. I can't wait to get that thing done for you. What happens if we all work in places where people are looking out for our joy as well as our expertise? Does all this make sense? Hippie hands. Okay, great. I love saying that. Here's where we wrap all this together and then it makes space for you guys to ask me questions. Intersectionality is in many ways an opportunity for the powers that be to find the low-hanging fruit for driving wedges between us. If, however, inside our own idiosyncratic and personal prime directives, we have a drive to bridge. And by the way, I'm not doing the naked hippies and the tulips thing. You don't have to love yourself to build bridges. You don't have to love the world to build bridges. You can hate the world and hate yourself and know the bridge needs to be built and grump the entire time and build a bridge. Okay, if the bridge is supposed to be built and you build the bridge, you can be pissed the entire time and build it. And people are like, oh, you got to love the world before you can make a difference. I hated the world and hated myself and fed 170,000 families in 4 states and hated everybody and me the whole time I did it. And trust me on this, not one of those families cared that I was a psycho who hated the world and hated myself. What they cared about was they had 2 meals in a row. So this, oh, I've got to say all of my prayers and be sure that I am pure in thought and word and deed before I can make a difference. That's not true. It's not true. When your commitment is to making the difference, when your commitment is to finding the bridge, when your commitment is to finding the places that have gaps between them that should not be gapped apart that far, when your commitment is to making that kind of difference, then it doesn't matter where you are. What matters is that you show up. And you don't have to show up with all your equipment. You don't have to show up with your energy. You may have forgotten your vitamins. People think that living a good life is based in staying alive as a fundamental, and that's not true. Not even a little bit. The basis for living a good life is not dying. When we stop euphemizing where we are, then we can build proper roadmaps to other sides. Then we can be clear about the anchors that we need to build. Then we can hear what other people need that we can provide so that the bridges get built better. It cannot happen until we are clear in our languaging and stop doing gaslighting and shaming and blaming and euphemizing and all this other mess. Okay? I know Hillary and Ann have got some stuff to throw in here, and I think I probably shouldn't have gone on quite so long. Please don't be fooled. That would be my request. Don't let them tell you that you don't have power, that you are hopeless, that you are helpless, that the hurt is going to last forever, and you're never going to be able to do anything because you can't fight City Hall, because it's a lie. At least for me, please keep standing up and trying to build the bridge anyway. Like, that's the thing that's going to get this done. That makes sense to y'all? Hippie hands. Okay. All right. All right, I'm done. That's it for now. Thank you for your listening. I'm sorry, I just got going, Hillary, and that just happened. So.
So beautifully said. Can you hear me? Awesome, awesome. Totally beautiful. A pleasure, a pleasure. Yes. So, you brought up so many beautiful and, you have your own personal way of expressing and bringing out your points, and, so my little element of the whole reconciliation and, finding grace, because this is what we were working on, is finding grace between the races. From my perspective, it's really like coming from the space within each and every one of us, because colonization has, across the board, has affected tooth and nail everybody and everything on this planet. So for me personally, it's how do we take that mindset of colonization and reprogramming ourselves when we see it showing up. The hardest part for myself, and I'll speak from my own personal experience, is when it shows up for me. My question is, the easy thing to do is to point to the other, is to point outside of myself, right? But when I look closer, and this is where self-inquiry comes in really and plays a key role, is when I really check myself within, I'm realizing that it's not really coming from them, but it's coming from me, which is, even if, let's say, for example, even if we didn't have racism from another person, like white people or something, I could see it happening within my own community, within my own family. So the question is it coming from white people or people who are bigots, or you know, is it coming from them, or is it coming from my mindset, you know? So for me, it's triggered by something, of course, but I have the power within myself to correct it within me. Otherwise, if I blame outside forces, then what I'm doing is putting the power in other people's hand to control who I am. And that's the bottom line, you know. And for me, I think one of the key element here is for each and every one of us to ask ourselves question regarding when I feel something within myself, when I feel fear within myself, do I run out and start beating people, hiding from people, blaming people? No. I come back to myself and ask myself, what am I afraid of? You know, what am I truly afraid of? Because I live more than half of my life in Canada, and I live the lesser part of my life in Trinidad. I was born in Trinidad. And in Trinidad, I grew up in a majority Black environment. In Canada, I grew up, basically live in a majority white environment. So I have kind of both experiences as far as what minority and majority effect feels like. And for me personally, there's a lot of stuff that I could nitpick and talk about what I experienced and what this one did to me and what that one. But for me personally, that's taking a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to go through that, to be blaming and to be pointing and, you know, all of that. So my thing right now is to work on myself, learn what my powers are, where my powers are coming from, because we are dynamic beings. We are phenomenal beings. And so to live within that small framework and not know our power, this is our downfall, as not only as Black people, but as human beings. And as far as Black and white issues are concerned, the healing doesn't come from only one set of people, or say white or Black or this one or that. It comes from everyone, because we are all in this together. You understand? This is bigger than me and you, and it's everyone. You understand? And so taking the expansiveness of this and really, really looking at it from a personal perspective, for me, is the way to go, because I mean, everything outside there is just reflecting what's going on within me anyways. So, right. So I would end my little saying here and pass it on to Hillary.
Hillary, you're up.
Yep.
You're muted. There you go.
I'm just figuring out the whole talking stick situation here.
Oh.
Alrighty. Yeah, thank you. We'll have to figure out an easier way to do it with the talking sticks, maybe. We'll see.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel really grounded from your sharings and really grateful. And I just want to acknowledge that we did have a few people on the phone and they left. And there's a curiosity in me about that. And so I've been sitting with that, and as I've been listening to both of you, and especially all of your offerings, Julie, and feeling my own experience of, I could call it like white supremacy. I could call it fear. I could call it a lot of things. And I've sat listening to you, I don't know for how many hours, right? Like, we met every week for like an hour for how long? Like a year, maybe 9 months? I don't know. And you did that for free. You gave that to me because you saw something in me that I didn't even really see in myself. Yeah, like I got a full ride to go to Harvard to do something in with my life, but I didn't really understand what was coming through. And I still don't in a lot of ways. But because you valued my life to take that time out of your life, like I don't even fully understand like what your life experience is. Like, I don't know. I don't know how hard it is for you to like walk out of the house and walk down the street, or to do whatever it is that you do. And you took the time to sit and talk with me. So there's something really important that we're doing here that you saw when we danced around that fire together 7 years ago when you called me a preacher, and I didn't see that in myself. I ran away from being a preacher because my body hurt too much when I thought about being a preacher. And now I'm getting to the place where I feel like, oh, I think I'm figuring out I have something to say, because I've had all these people really value what it is that they witness in my embodiment and what I am willing to hold space for on some level. And you've shown me I've experienced a sense of self-worth deeper than I've known or could imagine, when you really trusted me to dance with you around the fire to help you do your work. And when you honestly held me through some of the deepest experience of my life. And I want to help other people to get to that place of trust within their own embodiment and experience to be able to trust someone who is completely different from them, who actually terrifies them on some level, so that they can rise and expand to receive the experience that that other is bringing to them. And to go across. Like, when you talk about crossing the veil, like, for me, that's crossing the veil. To actually open to another person's embodied experience who has been completely different from your own. And I'm not sure exactly what that's going to take, but I'm offering that to us all. And you know, I want to do gender reconciliation retreats and race reconciliation retreats, and I'm not particularly trained in any of this, and that's not why I'm doing this. It's because Anne asked me when she met me, and she also saw something in me, and I felt the power of her heart draw me forward and call me into action. And so I'm doing this because it feels more exciting and more alive than anything else that I could do. Like, oh yeah, I could be a dancer, or I could be a healer, and I am all those things, and I could market myself, but I don't have the energy to do that. I have the energy to be asked to do things, to step forward, because it helps you. And so I'm excited. I'm really excited about this space and about others who are also calling me forward, and excited about what you're sharing, Anne, and the clarity that was coming through you about your experience. And I'm excited to hear more of your stories, Anne, from Trinidad. And I look forward, you know, we're going to be doing this every 2 weeks. So we're going to have quite a bit of chance to share more of our stories. And I invited JWOW today without any specific theme necessarily, or without any specific questions, because I just wanted to see what was going to come through you. And and I'm really excited to see what questions came up and what theme ideas are in this group right now, because really you all, those of you who are here right now and those who are listening afterwards as well, watching this, you are in the beginnings of this experiment, and we want your feedback. You know, if this was really hard for you and really challenging, and you know, if you think there's a better way to do it, if you think there's guidelines that would help you feel safer, if there's practices, if there's people, certainly people that you know who you'd like to share as well in this way, please do share. So right now I'm going to hand it back to Anne to guide us for the rest of this time. But first of all, I want to just thank you all for coming and listening, and especially JWoww for bringing all of your wisdom and knowing and beingness and experience. And I want to thank all of the ancestors who guided us through this initial portion of our time. And I'm going to open the circle so that we are in less of a closed container, and invite you all to bring your wisdom as well. So Anne, please take us on to the next portion of our gathering.
The questions could be geared towards JWoww, for now. And later on, if there's time, we could have general question about grace between races and all of that. But in the beginning, let's start off with questions for JWoww. You could type it in, or you could raise your hands. If you tap on your screen, usually there's a little hand icon, and you could just say raise hand and ask your question, whether audio or video.
Or they can type it in the chat if you
They could type it in the chat, yes. There's two hands. So we have, I think I see Janine.
Yeah. Can I be heard?
Yes. Yes. Hi, Janine. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Yeah, I don't see a chat box because when Julie was sharing at the beginning and she said, "Does everyone understand me?" And I was like, kind of. It was because I couldn't, it was fuzzy and I was listening so intently, but I still couldn't make out all the words clearly. It was not that I was not understanding the content. And I'm on my phone, and so I'm wondering, like, am I missing something that on the phone I can't put the chat notes?
Right. Okay. So I myself, I'm not. Did you hear that, Hillary? She wasn't being able to see the chat. There's no chat.
I found the chat.
You found it. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, wonderful.
Great. Yeah, it was just fuzzy, she was saying, so it was hard for her to hear.
Okay.
And the chat feature is not on the little bottom option screen. You have to hit participants and then the chat.
Oh, I see.
JWoww, we can't hear you right now for some reason. No, we can't hear you.
Okay. But does Janine have a question?
I guess I could. Thank you. Thanks for asking. I guess I can. I guess I just wanted to maybe share why I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I so deeply appreciate this kind of dialogue being possible because I just think it's critical. There's so much tension that I feel whenever I'm walking through life. I live in a much more racially diverse. I live in the urban city, and so I'm surrounded by people of every color, skin, every ethnicity, every religion, practically. I mean, I think I am. I'm in Springfield, and it's not the there's just such a level of tension, and I just always try to walk through respectfully, and sometimes it's really painful as a white person to just, I don't know, like I can't express my caring because it would be awkward. And I don't know if any of this makes sense, but and the other thing I want to say is that I just recently got my DNA results, and I knew already that I had a lot of colonizer DNA, and I knew that I had some Jewish DNA, but I didn't know that I had African DNA. And the possibility is very strong that I have Native American DNA. So it's like I within myself contain these, well, I don't like to think of them as warring factions, but these intense dichotomies, you know? And I don't know. I'm just glad that the dialogue is happening, because I don't see how else peace can be possible other than through communication and connection. To me, that's the only way, is when we know each other. There is no other, because then we're hearts connecting. We're not, our facade. So anyway, thank you.
I'd like to jump in on this, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Okay.
Jonah also has a question.
Yes.
Janine, we are taught that when things are different from us, there's automatically some measure of anxiety and a negativity and a pejorativeness to the otherness. And we do that even within ourselves. As you say, the first urge was to call these, this African, Native American, colonizer, call them warring factions. Here's the thing. If we keep talking about colonizer, my colonizer background, my first of all, as spiritual beings, any one of us may have been dark-skinned in another life, and any one of us may have been a slave owner, and any one of us may have been any number of things. And so this entire conversation is a euphemized divisiveness promulgating campaign to keep us from being able to appreciate and celebrate our diversities. We're supposed to be afraid of each other. Grace between races means giving room for each of us to stand in what is good about what we know about ourselves as race and to share it. I specialize in being a Negro.
Well, interesting. I think I specialize in being compassion. Like, that's my goal. I don't want to be, I don't know, maybe it's a privileged thing to say, I don't want to be any color, but I want to
It
be a
is.
being.
I'm going to say right now, it is a privileged thing to say, because I tell you this right now, Janine, it's really simple to understand privilege. Imagine your life exactly the way it is right now, and then tell me that if you had an opportunity to be a Black person living your life exactly the way it is right now, would you switch places in the current environment?
In this political climate?
Yes, in this political environment.
Of course not, because I'm not.
That's my point. The current political environment is the one that we have. We can posit different circumstances till the cows come home. The reality is, my experience as an older Black woman to boot, is that I consolidate my errands and I go out of the house once a week because I don't want to be shot and killed at a stoplight because my car dies at the stoplight because it's cold. It is difficult to be in America and be breathing while Black.
Right.
And white privilege and white entitlement are used, entitlement and privilege are used by the powers that be so that they're conflated, so that people will not realize that power gives them the privilege to make a difference, and entitlement means they're being a jerk. Entitlement doesn't fix anything. Privilege does.
Right.
So, yes,
I understand that because I'm white, but because I care about peace and love on the planet in the true sense that I take action, I am aware that I have not just a choice, but a responsibility to use the privilege I have to try to do something positive with it.
I'm going to disagree with you. You're not responsible for doing that. You just get to choose that. It's not a burden. It's not a requirement. It takes courage to choose to take care of things that don't have to affect you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not your responsibility. It is your courageous choice. And there's a different feeling in your body. There's a different set of chemicals in your body that go to your brain when you step into making a courageous choice as opposed to doing something that you feel like you have to do. Your innovativeness, your creativity, those are radically different when you take on being accountable for choosing to make the difference. And if you just start there, it will help you start stripping away the moments when you're feeling like out of white guilt, I need to do something, as opposed to being excited about stepping into a situation where you're like, wow, I've got this white privilege. I can like make a difference here. And it doesn't matter if the black people or the brown people that I'm bringing my privilege to say, I don't know what to do with it. What do you need? I want help. If they get mad at me, that's okay, because let's face it, my 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years of on occasion having to be uncomfortable is nothing in comparison to their 24/7 for the past 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. When white folks get woke around me and they're like, I'm bringing all of these things and I want to make a difference, and I go to black people and they reject me. And I'm like, first off, welcome to what it feels like to be rejected for your color. Not very much fun, is it? Secondly, you get to keep coming back until people believe you and trust you. Why should black people trust white people who suddenly are coming bearing gifts? The suffragettes were like, yeah, black women, come swell our numbers and we'll get votes for all the women. They didn't say all the white women, they just said all the women. And then as soon as the white women got the vote, they dumped the black women. White people have been using black people to swell their numbers forever and then dumping them since the beginning of slavery in America, at least. And black people keep showing up and believing out of a sense of hope. Hope that this time it'll be an integritous and honest and transparent person with white privilege who's actually going to make a difference. Oh, goody, goody. We live in a time now where there are lots of woke white people who are doing really cool things. I'm in my bliss. So, yeah, you do the thing, and it may get accepted and it may not. The point isn't for you to feel good doing the thing. The point is for you to do the thing until it gets done. Does that make a difference? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, if I showed up because I wanted to feel good about myself because I was doing something for other people, other skin colors, that would be pretty shitty, I think. I'm not motivated by that. You know, I'm talking about, yeah, I hear what you're saying though, and I've witnessed that because I've witnessed people who want to be helpful but don't understand how they're presenting themselves or how they're being perceived or what their true intention or motivation is behind what their actions are. Whereas I show up because I care, and that's the whole point of it. Is my heart hurts because of all the shit that goes on, and I just want to take action to alleviate the pain in my heart, but not to inflict that need of me getting heart healing on anybody else.
And that's it, knowing that, being clear about your stance makes an enormous difference in what you do and how it's accepted.
That's what I say responsibility. That's what I meant by that. That I have responsibility to myself as a loving person. I can't walk away because later I feel like shit that I didn't use my voice, or I didn't stand up, or I didn't intervene, or I didn't give, whatever it was. You know?
So I will say this about that, and then I want to pass the, because I believe Jonah had a question or a statement. I'm going to stand with this. Yes, you can always choose to not do the thing. When I did rock and roll, I could and regularly lost 8 pounds of water weight in an hour and a half. They used to call me the Tasmanian devil on a pound of cocaine. Okay? So 8 pounds of water weight in an hour and a half. That takes some doing, right? So that means that if someone said, Julie, you absolutely have to lose 16 pounds by tomorrow, I'd be sick as a dog, and I can do it. I'm capable of it. I may not choose to do it, and I can. If someone says, Julie, you have to wake up tomorrow morning and be a skinny white male, that's a can't. The first one is a won't. And we say can't, and then absolve ourselves of the responsibility for choosing, the accountability for choosing. I'm still choosing not to lose, not to drop 16 pounds of water weight overnight. There's no choice involved in whether or not I'm going to be a skinny white male tomorrow morning. There's no choice involved in that. That's a can't. We take our power back when we stop talking about what we have to do. You do not have to do anything because you care. You choose to do it. And that, again, takes courage. And you are exercising your muscles of choice and discernment so that those muscles are strengthened in not only this arena, in other arenas as well. Does that make sense?
It does, because I realize that saying I'm responsible can sound like I think there's some kind of like almost like it's culpability. Like if I'm responsible, I've got to take care of it, or it's my
bingo.
Right? And hell no, it isn't. And my choice just feels so strong. It feels like an imperative. It doesn't really feel like a choice. It feels I got to do this because it's who I am. So anyway.
You know, my mother is a very brilliant woman, and she told me this truth, and I stand by it. I would say I have to do something. She said, Julie Carol Woods, you have to do 2 things in life: stay black and die. Everything else is gravy. So fill in your ethnicity and get over your have to. Okay? All right, Jonah had something. Hi, baby.
Hi, you hear me?
I can, sweet one. It's great to see you.
You too. I am so grateful for this space, and grateful for you and Anne for doing this. Hillary, yes, but for you too, especially because I keep hearing like white people, you got to go and do your homework and figure this shit out on your own. And like, I'm just really grateful because like I'm feeling all this, like I want to just jump in, and also I feel like I'm like too eager, and I feel like I don't want to like say the wrong thing or like overcompensate. You know, that's definitely a thing. You know, and so I want to really look at again what you said, JWoww, about the bridge and the anchors on either side, and kind of zoom in, because that is really potent. Like, I know everyone has like a slightly different experience, you know, like in where, depending on where you are in the country, being a minority in some places of this country and majority in others, you know, it's everyone has their own experience. There are obviously themes. And so I'm in New England, you know, it's like definitely way majority white. And so I feel like like every Black person I see, I want to like pounce on and just like, you know, show that I care and love. But it's that like, I feel like that's freaky, you know what I mean? Like, so what is this anchor? What is the anchor point that I can come to and vision and imagine and see to work with? Yeah. I'd love to ask kind of that, what's wanted, you know?
And do you want to take that? You want me to take that? Up to you.
Well, you know, it's not the first time I have heard this come up, where coming from white people, that they don't know how to approach, you know, Black people when it comes in terms of trying to address or to help or to reach out or to want to bridge. But that sometimes, I'm speaking kind of French in between. Sometimes I think it could be in our own psyches, you know, fear, the mind have a way of playing out stuff in our own psyche, when we might say to ourselves, well, I want to do this thing, but, you know, how do I approach it? How do I, is you thinking for the other person, in other words, like when you say, where would I don't know how to approach it. It's a human being we're talking about. Listen, a human being, whether the person is Black, white, or in between, we all have the same needs, we have emotions, we have all the same elements. So addressing or reaching out, compassion is compassion, no matter how you swing the axle, you know. There's the approach is really like going up to the person. Simple. For example, when I and Hillary met, her question to me was, how do you feel working along with a white woman? Straight up. Hey. And I said, for example, here was my response. What? In my own mind. What? She had the courage to ask me that? I want to know more. I want to know this woman better. And that's what it takes. I don't have anything, I mean, like my skin color might be different, but I don't have anything majorly different from you, to be quite honest. You say it. You say it. Can I be of help? This is how I'm feeling. You know, Hillary and I, we just had a conversation. You know, grief is grief. Pain is pain. Anything, any emotional stuff, anything that we have to deal with. You're hungry, I'm hungry. You know, like take these natural human, everyday occurrences, everyday happenings, and use it to your best ability. Take the chance. You know, just say to yourself, okay, I want to be of help here. How can I be of help? This is how I'm seeing it. This is what I feel. This, you know, go into your own feeling. I don't think Black people is asking white people to be different from who they are. To really feel what it is they want to bring. You know, like if you have something to bring, you don't have to change who you are to bring that something at all. We're not asking you to be different. And I don't want, and for me personally, I don't think that you should expect me to be different also. You understand? Just to bring something or to accept something from you. Don't expect me to be different, to change who I am in order to please or to be accepted. No, we meet just the way we are. It's just like love. Lovers, the way to bring love to the table is to accept people for who they are, you know, where they at. So I don't know if Hillary wants to jump in here and say something, or JWoww.
I do.
Yes.
I do. First of all, thank you. Yes. Come back here. Hey, Jonah. I'm not disagreeing with you, Anne. I'm shifting a little bit. When we start out in school and they tell us to memorize, you know how they don't tell us to memorize? They don't tell us how to memorize. They say go memorize it. And I'm like, okay. Go use your white privilege and make a difference. You know, there's that moment. I do not arrogate to speak for other unless requested. And so I can say that this is what works for me and I don't have to track. When I come to a situation and I bring my transparent care, then I can be honest about what I do and don't know. I can walk up to someone and say, I want to make a difference, I don't know how. I don't know how to do this well. I just know that I care and that I'm learning and that I have some skills and I have some offerings and this is the place I'd like to help. May I please? And it's not can I, because of course you can. You're white. Of course you can help. May I please comes with respect and love. This is where the language of inclusion and empowerment comes in. There are nuances of it that matter. And in case anybody thinks that's minor or woo, Jordan's Furniture made $3 million in one day by having everyone at Jordan's Furniture change from saying, can I help you, to may I help you. In one day, they made $3 million more. This is not woo, folks. It matters. Being white and walking up to someone and saying, I feel like there's something I could contribute here, and I'm white and I'm just waking up and I don't know what to do. May I help in some way, please? Would you please tell me what would be helpful in this moment, and I will do my best to do it. And I can pretty much guarantee you that just about anybody, for anything, it's not just races. It's grace between the tribes, and race is one of the big ones. Here's the thing about race. It's easier when you take all of the big stuff off it and realize that what we're really talking about is a melanin war. People are being lynched because they tan faster. That's happening. It's got nothing to do with ethnicity and race and anything like that. They're pissed because we tan faster. And it's just that. That is ridiculous. And it takes the edge off of, oh, God, it's the big race question, and I can't breathe because it's, the big race question, and that thing, okay, which would paralyze you. It's like, look, I'm not going to participate in the melanin war. I'm just not. I'm not going to be the black person who plays kick the dog with white people who are just waking up. You do not kick babies when they learn how to stand up. Why in God's name are you kicking white people who are just learning how to wake up and stand up? Be nice to the white people who are waking up, who want to do something, folks. This is my conversation with a whole bunch of black people. They are finally waking up, and now you want to kick them? Well, why didn't you do this? And why don't you do that? And why don't we take care of this and take care of that? It's like they are still at that stage. There are a whole bunch of white folks who are still at that stage where they're trying to figure out, they've got the words. It's like, I hurt and I can make a difference, and that's all I've got. Remember, language generates reality. When you control the language, control the imagination, control the imagination, control the narrative, control the culture, you control the steward of reality. Okay, so You've got white folks who are just getting the words for how to imagine an equal and loving reality, and then you want to kick them with, why didn't you do this 30 years ago? Okay, I get pissed. White people waking up right now, thank you so much, because since you didn't wake up before, now you have an opportunity to come up with something new and cool. Can't wait to see what you do. Okay? 80% of innovation happens from outside an industry. We've had an industry of patriarchal, intersectional divisiveness up until now, and y'all are waking up out of that. Can't wait to see what you do with that. That's going to be fun. Let's kick some intersectional butt. Right? Z has a question and a hand up. Joni, did that make sense? Does that help?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Cutie Pie. And by the way, excuse me 1 second, Z, for the record. You show up, Jonah, as graciousness that in another world, in another time, wouldn't have any intersectional mess at all. I believe that about you. And I believe that about you since I met you. You're not born in that time, big-hearted darling. You're not born in that time, so your heart's going to get kicked. No, your heart's going to get kicked. I mean, it's still, if it ain't being kicked now, it's going to get kicked. Okay, and that's just going to be what's so, sweetie, and you're going to be bruised, and you're going to be hurting, and you're going to learn how to get strong and stand up in this fight, because you do give a shit, and you do have a voice. You write gorgeous chants that build bridges. Keep doing that work. Be white. And be proud of the fact that you have the courage to stand up over and over again. Every single one of you, please. The sooner you get off on your changes, the sooner the good changes are going to happen. That's what's so.
Mm-hmm.
We good?
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome, Cutie Pie. And I'll hug you at some point soon.
Yeah.
All right. Z, what you got? I'm so getting in the room with those dimples. That's happening. No, that's happening.
Great. I had a question earlier back, but what feels more relevant right now is actually this sense of the question, Jonah, you said about like deepening our anchor from where we are standing, and I see all the yes, getting in there. There was something actually Hillary said earlier about like building bridges with people from another experience, and I think some of what is so needed is building bridges with people who have a similar experience, especially white people and white people. Like, especially we have different senses of where our anchors are coming from. And so I was wishing before Janine left to also just check in, because I was like tracking her moving further from the screen and like wondering what was happening. And I think, and then I saw that she just said, yes, I saw you at Interfusion. Great. Yes. But Interfusion actually is a perfect example of JWoww, what I hear you saying. It's a space where people come in, they're like, I love this. I know this. I don't know what you bring yet, and I'm curious. One of the spaces for me that I want to share, and then I am remembering now my question from earlier, is really about connecting to our ancestors. Not just the ones that feel supportive and generative, but also the ones that make us uncomfortable. And just being in a listening space, because I think so much of the moments that I have approached the question of what can I do from a place of trauma or from a place of inadequacy is so different than approaching it from, I hear you and I get to choose right now in this body and this time, yes, to like create something that gives me joy and brings me into alignment. And I want to do that with you. Yeah. So I'm like, you have so much energy. Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, I just want to say that when I heard your question, Jonah, and like and I'm also here to learn. And the question that popped up for me when I was listening to you, JWoww, earlier is about self-care. And for me, you know, those moments of when do I put my attention on the bridge and when do I build my personal resilience so I can walk the bridge better. And I have a feeling that you know something about that. And I want to hear your wisdom on that. With yes. Yeah. Great.
I pity the walls of the building that you and I are in when we're finally physically together. Okay, like that's something. They need to put us in a building that needs to be demolished because those walls will not last. Okay.
Great.
Self-care. Whew, boy. Okay. I'm a 24-person multiple that, and for those of you who don't know, that means that I have 24 souls in this body all at once. Multiples tend to be genius children who were raped before they're a year old, and I am a classic. I was. And my self-care, my selves care, part of this intersectionality, and particularly racism and race issues, comes up really oddly for me because not everyone in me is the same gender and not everyone in me is the same ethnicity. And that gets really interesting around the dinner table. Okay, I'm not even talking about the animals. I mean, like the animals are a different discussion. I'm just talking about the things on two legs that are relatively humanoid that are in my body. It gets interesting over here. Fundamental care, the caliber of fundamental care is based on our commitment to being the best we can be. I've got a JWowwism. I may not always walk my talk. At a minimum, I'm going to stumble my mumble. Okay? And so on my lousy days, and I've had some doozers, and I mean like, today was a good day because I crawled to the bathroom on my hands and knees and crawled back on my hands and knees, and that's all I did today. And I've had days, lots of days like that. The care of self-care has to have a component of compassion for our circumstances so that we make room for cherishing our best behavior that may or may not give us the level of self-care that we want. Okay? I would love to be in a hot tub and have people feed me peeled grapes and rub my feet while I'm in the hot tub. And that will make me feel better. If I don't have a hot tub, don't have any grapes, and nobody around to do massage, I'm not going to get my dream of self-care. I may wind up with a roller on the floor and drinking some orange juice, and that's all I can do. And not have that be a booby prize. Have that be, good job. What I wanted was physical nourishing care. I gave that to myself with the foot roller. What I wanted was something that I put in my body that tasted good, that somebody already made. I went ahead and did Matt's organic, not from concentrate orange juice. It's not peeled grapes. It's still Matt's orange juice. It's not a hot tub and massage. It's still a foot rub that I gave myself. In the process, yeah, right. This is about manifestation. Okay, what is it that we allow ourselves to manifest in terms of power? Power being defined as the ability to influence that which is not our isness. What do we allow ourselves to manifest in terms of our power in choosing our self-care? It's not so much which self-care you choose. It's the power that you give to yourself in choosing whatever self-care that you choose, so that the self-care feels like a reward, if not something to cherish, if not something to celebrate. Behavior that's rewarded persists. Behavior that's cherished innovates. Behavior that celebrated evolves. And please remember, beloveds, evolution is just a whole bunch of innovations having a rave. Okay? Right? You get them lined up enough, and enough different things happen. The next thing you know, you have a whole new species. Okay, you have a whole new thing. It's just a bunch of innovations. I'm serious. I mean, I know that's glib. I am serious. Evolution is just a bunch of innovations having a rave. We can evolve our behaviors. We can evolve our culture. We can evolve our self-care by innovating and then sustaining the innovations. And that's going to play into how much graciousness we have in the moments when we need it, in the relationships between races, across genders, across orientations, across whatever the thing is that I don't even feel like figuring out. Okay, it's like that, whatever that intersectional thing is, we practice graciousness with empowerment and power, so that in that moment we can hold an energetic morphic field that this is going to work, that the bridging will occur, that we are taking care of ourselves enough to be strong enough to back that courage with active care. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Hippie hands. Okay. Right? As a multiple, I am the living embodiment of I am disparate beings and the all one for myself at the same time. The closest that singletons come to multiplicity are trans folks. Okay? They got to figure out that mess. I got 24 lines of that. They got 2, 3, right? And I'm finding that I have contributions to make into that conversation, because there is no resolving this in me. Juju's always going to be 5.5 and just ridiculously adorable, and LJ is always going to be an 8-year-old autistic submo, and that's what's true. And there is no resolving this or changing this, and that's what's different from being trans. And at the same time, there are behaviors that let me take care of myself, so that I'm not on medication and I'm not in a room with the lock outside the door and a shunt in my arm. Okay, and those behaviors are turning out to be really useful for people who are bipolar, schizophrenic, trans, anything where you've got multiple realities that you have to deal with. Yo, you want to talk about multiple realities? I got some doozers over here, man. Okay.
Can I
Go.
there's something coming in, like, before, okay, when you say, like, when white people get woke, my experience, and I relate so much to animal and multiple gender realities, like, they're like, I'm not having your experience, but I get that there's a relevancy to your experience that can contribute to people like me. And I also see that parallels the experience of the death of the white identity, because there's, like, the reality that we are socialized into, and then there's, are we willing to see another reality that is more true? And that is where your gifts are deeply relevant, because that is the multiple realities we're living between when we choose to wake up. Yes, that's what I'm seeing. Yeah.
So here's a really cool thing. Here's a really cool thing with that, Z. Okay, no, dude, this is really neat. Okay, so remember I started out talking about lenses? Okay, so what if it's not a death? What if it's a composting? What if it's a composting, like, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater? Well, I mean, I don't like kids. I don't give a shit. But, you know, like most people want to keep the baby. Okay. what if we play a game called White Privilege is Really Neat? Okay, no, white privilege is a really cool thing to have, and you can do all kinds of really neat things with it. And if you could do all kinds of really neat things with it, what would you do? Okay,
It's my favorite.
right? Do you understand why? You're changing the neural association.
Yeah.
There's all this storm and drag. I've got white privilege and I'm just guilty and I want reparation and restitution and Okay? Right. All that energy put into all that mess, we could be figuring out how to do some really cool stuff right now. White privilege. Okay, and specifically, go to a playground that's half mainstream kids and half hippie kids and watch how they get along. Okay, and they figured out how to handle the white privilege thing. So, well, I got extra money for ice cream. Let's all go for ice cream. Okay, well, I've got this. And then we can make these really cool things out of, whatever the thing is. And, blah, 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 blah. It's like there are all these ways, excuse me, there are all of these ways for us to be innovative. I'm just making it so that it doesn't go away. Here we go. Close. There we go. All of these ways for us to be innovative and delighted and successful about not losing what is wonderful about being white. Let me say that again. I don't mean cool to be white like oppressor and supremacy and all that other mess. I mean, if you're white in a white culture, there's shit you see and there's stuff you get to do, and now you get to share. I grew up going to a very, very wealthy school, and when I say wealthy, I mean like my 7th grade tuition was $2,500 a semester. Yes, we do. My point is this. We get to choose from places of delight or pain. And you can take this to the bank from my 59-year-old butt. The delight thing gets you better, cooler shit. Okay? It's that simple. Mm-hmm. So I want white people to be happy about being white and then come play and make the world better. Yeah. Thank you. Hippie hands, man. Okay. All right. Steve. Yeah. What you got with the pretty smile? What you got? Unmute yourself. You got to unmute yourself, baby. There you go.
I did. I'm unmuted now. Yeah. I was just typing up my exit from the conversation, and here we are back. So I'm still here.
Fantastic.
I almost just left the conversation because I had a phone call with my son. So anyway, so many blessings that are emerging from this. And I wanted to acknowledge earlier on in this conversation the question about me showing up as a white male in a social group that I'm participating in here. It's a group called It Is Well With My Soul. I don't know if you know Ruby Kane. Does that name ring a bell?
No.
He's a professor who's done a lot of work on intercultural conversation, peace building, culture building, bridge building, that sort of thing. So a lot of what you're vibing with, she would just love you. She's a great sister.
Please introduce us.
I will indeed do that.
Thank you.
Be delighted, and so will you.
Thank you.
So in my interaction with this group, I ended up really huddling up with a group of people around the concerns of education and the challenges that young people, particularly young people of color, feel in schools and educational environments. And so I just plunged in on that. And I'll tell you a little bit of what happened there. The other people that were part of that conversation were all women. There was not another man that joined me in that group. So I was a very distinct presence as a white male, mostly with minority African-American women. And there was another white woman that was a part of that conversation group. And a couple of others that would drop in once in a while. What happened was that I ended up becoming a facilitator of this group at the request of the other members of the group. And that was working pretty well, but I was always a bit nervous that I'm a white male facilitating a group of African-American women. And I kept testing that out. I says, I would love to have a co-facilitator work with me on this. So working with that. And they said, fine. Well, one of the other women's agreed to do that. But I got some flack from a couple of the white people in the larger group that this contained. And they were saying, what are you doing? For them, they were observing it from the outside, thinking that I had imposed my leadership on the group, when I was receiving really the gracious hospitality of, come join us inside the group. So it was a really interesting phenomena where I was being judged. I perceived being judged by some of the white people that were part of the group, thinking that I was using my whiteness to kind of tell, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm just saying that interesting experience.
Your whiteness and your maleness.
And my maleness. I was nervous about that. I was frequently checking with Ruby Kane, Dr. Ruby Kane. She's a professor of intercultural communications at Ball State University in Indiana. So, and she says, Steve, you're doing a great job. I love what you're doing. And she always gave me her like beautiful affirmation. But I definitely was trying to navigate that among all the sensibilities that were showing up in that.
It's the details of that kind of navigation are enormous.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for stepping into that role and being willing to take body blows from people outside who don't understand what you did. And here's what's also true. For all of, I tell people, I do not have a filter because it's in Bermuda having an umbrella drink without me. So if it's in my head, it's out of my mouth. Okay. Hillary got this big smile, this is true, right? And I find myself having to say, I have trouble speaking this truth to you because you are white or because you are male. Hillary and I went through a thing where it's like, we're going to do an exercise and I have to go against 58 years of being raised not to push you because you are white. This is not some small request on this side, right? And it needs to happen on both sides. And that group of women may not have thought about how there's an assumption perhaps on their part that if you're a white male, you're going to need to lead, either because that's what white men get to do, or because it's too much of a pain in the butt to deal with some guy who's mansplaining all the time. We might as well let him lead things. And either one of those could be true.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the question that you ask isn't necessarily, am I doing this well? The question can be, how do we build a new tribal paradigm where there's transparency, honesty, and intimacy in this conversation, where there's a safe cauldron, and together we discover what a new safe cauldron could be.
Yeah.
Let's play a game that I'm not just a typical white guy and you're not just a bunch of typical black women, because there really isn't any such thing. And let's make up something new.
Yeah.
What could this conversation look like? And one way to get yourself there is to use helium.
Okay.
Because when you ask the serious, when you ask a serious question,
Yes, I did.
I'm going to ask a very serious intersectional question now about racism and what it is that we should do about it. What do you think? Okay, dude, it takes you right out of the baggage.
Yeah.
It just lifts you right out of the baggage and then well, let's just do it this way.
Yeah.
I'm very serious. Like, say we're going to have a meeting. Everybody has to go spend $1 and have a helium balloon next to them when we have this meeting. And when we get into the heavy duty meaty part, you got to do the thing, man.
Yeah. And I want to say that what I'm hearing you say to me is that let's lighten the mood. I mean,
Can we please?
all the time. Yeah.
We know it sucks.
Yeah.
I'm 59 years old and I go out of my house once a week, once every 10 days because I don't want to die. That's real. Okay, it sucks. I would like for it to suck less. Okay? It's just a thought. So, what can we do that is creative? What can we do that has not been done before? How do we, when we talk about grace between the races, what does grace look like? There's that spiritual and sacred component of grace that is almost an absolution. It is a forgiveness. It is a pardon. It is an opportunity to say, yeah, that happened. It's not happening now. What are we doing now? And it's just that. We can spend as much time as you would like, with as many strengths as you'd like, on the past. Can we do something moving forward now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's 9:10, so thank you all for staying longer to be able to hear Steve and answer his question. Thank you so much, JWoww.
Yes.
Okay.
This is fun and I want to do it again.
Yeah.
No, I want to do it again. Hillary, seriously, that was a lot of fun. I want to play again.
Okay. Let's do it.
And Z, I don't know what I need to do to like get in a room with you, but that's happening. You can take that to the bank, winch. That's happening.
So grateful I can
I
help
look forward.
facilitate
I
that.
look forward.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great.
And anyone, if you want to bring any other feedback or anything like that, you can always post it on the group page. This will be posted on the group page as well, the whole recording.
I want to say something about that. Okay, y'all, we can talk until the cows come home. We have technology that will spread this medicine everywhere. We all intend to share things, and we all know about hell and roads and intention. If you got medicine from this, what will deepen this conversation and spread it is if you talk about it. I was on a call, totally opened up this for me. I asked this question, is this really cool thing that happened? Hillary and Anne-Marie are doing this thing. Man, you got to like TikTok, be there in 2 weeks. I ain't lying. These are actions that are non-trivial. By sharing the places and the resources of our medicine, we're going to lift folks like Hillary and Anne-Marie up so that this conversation gets bigger the way that it deserves to. It will not do that if you do the virtual equivalent of sitting on your couch.
Mm-hmm.
Share that you got good medicine. It's time to stop hoarding our resources, please. Okay?
Mm-hmm. All right. And you take it over.
Okay, so thank you, JWoww, for that wonderful, beautiful experience, and everybody else for being involved with this whole initiation of Grace Between Races. And I hope you guys would come back and, as Hillary said before, write any questions that you have, any suggestions for the next time, or you know, so that we could read it and take some actions also. This was beautiful. So maybe we could just quiet ourselves a bit and thank the ancestors for allowing us to have the space. Let's close our eyes and take some deep breaths just to soak everything in. Couple of them. And when you're through, you could open your eyes. And we just want to say, you know, to pull that all that energy from our ancestors in, so that we can hold that and expand on that, not only for outside, but this is for us within. And so that as we go into our own directions, wherever we go, we could keep contemplating on what was said here, what was discussed here. And as JWoww said before, share it. Just don't hold the medicine. Just take it wherever you go, and let people know that there's a different a conversation that is happening that have the possibility of creating something different. So we want that. We want that difference to happen. And you know, we have to be the change. It's like cliche that everybody's saying. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. That's the bottom line, you know. And just appreciate all of you. You guys are such sweet darlings. You ask such phenomenal questions. I grew and I expand. My whole you know, psyche have expanded because you guys showed up and shared. And yeah, so come again, and we'll do this, keep this conversation going. All right. So lots of love.
Thank you.
Hillary, take it over.
That's it. Yeah, have a good night and take good care of yourselves and all that selves care. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure and a privilege being here. I just want to finish up and say, if you want to do individual work with me, PM me. If you want to come to any of the classes where I teach this language, please do. And I look forward to interacting with you guys again. And I would love, it would be an honor to come back to this and any other topic that you've got that we can dive into. This helps me learn how to focus what it is that I'm doing so that we do, in fact, get a better world faster.
Mm-hmm.
So,
definitely.
Emery and Hillary, y'all are kicking butt and taking names. This rocked, man.
And 2 weeks from today, we're going to have Kelvin Young, who's an amazing sound healer, and he found the divine through incarceration and is now transforming the world through doing recovery programs through sound healing. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.